right. Howdy, howdy, everybody. Hello. All right, we've got the D'Amelio family here, the Damn Fam. Hi, the first family of TikTok. This is such a trip to see you guys because we're going to fill you in on a little bit of the backstory. But do you guys get nervous at all for this anymore?
No. And luckily we can't see that well right now.
Yeah, okay, because of the lights. Do you get nervous, Charli?
Definitely get nervous to speak, but I didn't get nervous for this one because I think we got here really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys get nervous?
I should probably be a little nervous, but I think it's fun, and when I have like the family with me, then I think a little more calm.
I get nervous if I don't know the topic, but when we're talking about our journey, I remember it, so I think it's pretty easy, and I'm always comfortable with you.
Oh,
so.
thanks, man. No, I get petrified, and I gotta say, like I was thinking about it, I was like, well, I'm really nervous, and then I look over at you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, no, you have like been performing at the biggest venues in the world, and last time we talked, we were sitting in your living room in Connecticut. I know you've got the DJ experience that gives you a little bit of a leg up. You two crushed it in Dancing with the Stars, so that was incredible. But let me ask you this. Let's stay on the nervous topic a little bit. Charli, in the last, 4 or 5 years, what's the most nervous you've ever been doing any type of performance?
Oh, geez. Honestly, towards the end of Dancing with the Stars, before we would go to perform, because it's live and everything happens really fast and it's very chaotic and there's hairspray and lipstick and rhinestones and it's like a whole thing, and I would literally be over the trash can like dry heaving, trying not to throw up, which is so gross. I'm so sorry. But it's true. I would get so nervous, and I still get nervous for a lot of things, but I feel like I'm not doing that anymore.
So you did that, and then you still went out there, and then you just crushed it every performance.
Thank you. I guess.
I know. I loved watching it because it's kind of like when you watch the Olympics and you just know that like our gymnasts are gonna kill it, and you're like, I've seen Charli dance. Like I know how this is gonna go, and it's exactly how it went. So it's crazy to hear that made you nervous. Dixie, you're most nervous out of all the stages you've been on, other than this one, of course. What would you say?
I think, which I'm very lucky to have done, I got to play Madison Square Garden twice.
Twice? 2 times?
And the first time I did it was probably the scariest moment of my life because my entire family was there, my grandma, and I remember I was singing one of my songs and like, without saying anything, everyone in the audience put their flashlights up and started moving them at Madison Square Garden, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. I started crying on stage, but I was definitely the most nervous for that show.
Wow. And how about, so there's you're watching your daughters on the world stage, and then you're also sharing the world stage. What makes you guys nervous these days?
Well, similar to Charli, but week 1 of Dancing with the Stars was the most terrifying and scared and
because you had to, you had competition over here. I'd be terrified.
I honestly, there was so much going on in my own head. I didn't even have a second to even process like, wow, like this is incredible and she's gonna crush it. So, but after week 1, I felt a little bit better, but it was just that first week I was terrified.
I think being a dad, early on I would get nervous when they'd get on stage, and I remember we were at the ESPYs and it was raining, and they're on high heels and they're walking up. So I'm like looking at them. I hope they do a good job, but then I'm also worried that they're going to slip and fall down the stairs. Yeah. And they nail it every time, and I'm like, oh. So I've stopped worrying about that when they get on stage. But for a while, I would get nervous as a dad, like being the protector, like don't slip, don't fall. So.
All right. If it's okay with you guys, and I don't know how clearly you remember a lot of this stuff, but I remember it like it was yesterday. The first time I met you guys. Let me preface this a little bit too. It was 2019, and I was on TikTok. I think I was one of the first older news people to be on TikTok, and I was like, okay, what's this TikTok thing? And I started looking at it, and I gotta say, like, I started seeing a bunch of people my age that were doing duets with Charli, but they were like trying to make fun of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell is going on in this society where we have like grown people like just ragging on like this, I don't know, 15-year-old? Like what is going on? So I start trying to figure out what's going on. Everybody's talking about Charli and the algorithm's feeding me these things. And then so I go back, I find your page, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And that was a time when you were starting to blow up. And by blow up, I feel like Dr. Evil when I say this number. But you had 7 million followers. 7 million followers. And I thought it was like the biggest thing ever. And I was like, oh, well, look, she's going to hold a meet and greet. And she's raising money. Screw all the haters. She's raising money for her dance studio. And she's got this like 15 seconds of fame. And she's going to give back to her community. That is like a really cool thing. So for NBC Nightly News, I called them up. I'm like, hey, there's this girl, Charli D'Amelio. She's awesome. She's in Connecticut. I could probably be there really quick. And, they're like, what? And so I start sending them the video. They don't get it. I try. And finally somebody's like, oh, actually, my daughter follows her. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's do the story. Next thing you know, we go there. Do you remember that day? What do you remember about that day, Charli?
I feel like so much has happened in these past 5 years. I feel like everything kind of almost blurs together in a way. And when I really think back or look back at pictures or see little interview clips, it's hard to understand because to me that feels like it was lifetimes ago and it really wasn't that long ago. But I think of like the interview we did in our house when we moved to LA, and it's like us in interviews talking about how new this was and the way that we answered questions then versus now. I feel like
you know what I black out. I'm like in old school during like anytime I'm on stage or anytime I'm doing interviews, I like kind of like black out.
I know.
It's like what happened?
It's just once it's over, then I guess I just did that. It's almost I'm on autopilot because you're just talking about like yourself.
But I do remember your aura. Like I remember your spirit, and it was this like let me do my thing kind of spirit, right? And I have a daughter now, she's 3, and when she's coloring, she'll be like, Dad, let me do my thing. And I'm like, oh, that's the Charli thing,
Yeah.
And I also remember, it wasn't when we were filming, you remember your vision board that you showed me?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so then we're done with the interview, and then you're like, wait, I want to show you, or I think I was like, where do you want to go next? And you're like, well, I have a vision board. Let me go get it real fast. You run up to your room, you come downstairs, and you're holding like the cutest vision board I'd ever seen in my entire life. And you're like, this is my J-Lo vision board. I want to be J-Lo's backup dancer, right?
Yes, that was something that was actually an assignment for a dance class in a way to kind of put our goals out there, like put them out of just our mind. When you're looking at it, you're seeing it, you can focus on it, then subconsciously you're going to do things and make choices to be able to work towards achieving these goals. And I remember, what were we? We were on the train to New York City when we made that. And I think back, I thought that I was going to be working on that for the rest of my life. And I'm very lucky to where I got to dance next to J-Lo. I got to do all the stuff that I really wanted to do. And I just think about like little 15-year-old me, like these are my biggest hopes and dreams that don't seem real. And then it happened, and it happened really fast. And I just definitely, all I knew that I wanted was, I just want to dance, I want to have fun, I want to hang out with my friends, and I want to make little videos. And that was all that I cared about.
What's it like knowing that, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but you are like J-Lo to a lot of people who don't even know who J-Lo is. I know. It's a weird time, but that, like, so many people look up to you, and so many people have seen everything that you've done, and they look at you like you looked at J-Lo. What's that like?
I think it's really hard to think of yourself in that way, because I see myself in all aspects of my normal life, and I look up to people in ways that I guess they look up to me, and I just can't really fathom that that's a thing, because I look at all the people that I surround myself with, and I admire all of them in such interesting ways, and each person in my life is there for a special reason, and I just thinking that people think that way about me is really hard to grasp. But then you meet these people and then they say that and you're like, oh, I guess that's real. I guess that like what I say is like people actually listen. That's kind of cool.
Dixie, when we met, you were like, no, I'm going to college for sure. I'm definitely 1,000. I know which college I'm going to, and I could sense something was going on with this family. And I even told you, I was like, you guys have to come to LA. You have to come to LA from the moment that we first met. And you're like, no, I'm going to college. Do you remember that meeting?
So I got into college before my senior year. I had like early admissions, so I was set, and that's why I kind of was able to travel a lot during my senior year because I was already in. I had to keep above a certain GPA and I'd be fine. And I knew I would always want that experience. I feel like I just really wanted to go to college. And then with COVID, I wouldn't have been able to do work opportunities and school, so I had to make the decision. And I feel it was definitely a great decision in the time because I would have experienced the things I have because there was just the time and place, but I definitely do not regret, but I want to go to college and I would love to do that. I just miss learning. I miss being in an environment where you're around other people who want to learn, and I feel like the internet sometimes can get very draining, and I never thought I would say I want to learn, I want to go back to school, I want to read books, but like that's all I want to do now.
So you're still telling me, no, I'm going to college.
Yeah,
I'm running
we're still
companies.
going. 5 years later,
I'm going
to
as a
college.
student, not as a professor. Like I'm going to do this college. It's like I love it. You know, and then the aura that I remember you having, and it's really cool to see your family's trajectory because I still see these things. I know when other people see you, they see whatever they want to see or whatever they believe they see. And I feel like I can still see what was in that Connecticut house. But at the time, you had this crazy, like, big sister, don't mess with my little sister energy. I know, and I want to know.
She had that, but she thought that I was so lame. And it was I was posting like crazy.
I don't know where this is going. Yeah, exactly.
No, it's so funny because she could say whatever she wants. Like, dude, stop making videos. Like, people in school are talking about it. It's embarrassing. But if anyone else were to say something, she's like, you can't talk about my sister like that. So it's so funny because.
Well, I can say things, but no one.
Well,
else
yeah, no one.
can,
She's
obviously
very protective, but she can say whatever she wants, and that's fine with me.
Now that you both are in the spotlight, like in the biggest way possible, do you still have that, like, I know you guys, I mean, I've seen you guys fight many times on your show, but what's the sister relationship like? Like, I backstage, you guys clearly love each other. You're holding her while she's talking. Like, how do you guys stay so close, given everything you guys go through on a daily basis and being in the public spotlight? Like that's tough.
I think age has a lot to do with it. Something happened recently over the past couple of months where we just like grew up and stopped fighting and like what's the point, and we hang out and she comes over to my house and I'll make her food and I'm like babying her like I'm her mom just so she'll hang out with me and she'll walk to my house or I'll walk to her house, so we're really close.
Yeah, it's weird to me because I feel like we see each other all the time because we work together, we lived together for the past like however long, and then you posted a TikTok yesterday of us two and everyone was like, oh my gosh, they're like reunited.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, I'm literally with her every day.
Like she was at my house sleeping yesterday, eating all my food. She's here, trust me.
Yeah, I think there's just a very unique aspect to having a sister that you're super close with.
I look at it and my entire family, I feel like we get comments sometimes where it's like the parents are making them do this or they don't want to do that and whatever. Our family, like we talk about it all the time. We don't know where we would be without our parents and having their support and how lucky we are to have uprooted their lives, come to LA with us and let them do our dreams at such a age where it's still their lives. Their friends live in Connecticut and they've changed their entire lives for us, so incredibly grateful. And I think that relationship and that becoming an adult relationship between parent and children is great. And we're blood. We have each other. This is who we always have at the end of the day. So even if we're fighting about work stuff or we have an argument, it's like these are the people who have our back, who have been through the same experiences with us, and we just help each other get through all of this.
Yeah, I think so much of the closeness that you're talking about right now, I mean, it comes from you guys. And as a dad now, I listen to your podcast, I look at what you're doing, because from the moment we met, it was very clear that anything you guys did was going to be as a family. It was almost like there's no space between us. If we're moving to LA, we're all moving to LA, and we're not going to let the outside world in. This is crazy. This lightning in a bottle that has struck Charli, and then Charli struck the lightning back. You did it as a family, and I got to ask, like, how did you guys, first of all, how did you know that this was going to be a thing? At what point did you realize, oh yeah, this is actually something different than what all the kids are thinking that they're experiencing in their bedroom? And at what point did you decide, no, you know what, we're sticking together?
I always kind of, I'm adventurous. I always kind of live by the seat of my pants, and so it didn't happen instantly. Like when she first started getting popularity, I asked some friends that were in the space of like licensing for celebrities, and I said, hey, she's got 100,000 followers, and they're like, oh, and then she got 1 million followers, and a friend who I trust said it's different for everybody. Someone who could have 50,000 followers could make a great business of it, and someone who has a couple million followers can't convert. And we just we started to go out in LA. I was lucky enough that I had a job. I'm in sales. I had a showroom in New York City, and I could kind of come and go as we please. So it was just an adventure at first. We were just having fun coming out to LA. But there was always that part where if I weren't able to go to LA with Heidi, there would have been no way that we would have let Charli at 15 years of age go by herself. I mean, she would have had to wait till she was 18, because LA's tough. And I think one of the reasons why they're well adjusted is because we are there to kind of guide them in a way and not be overbearing and just kind of sit back. They come to us they tell us way more than we want to know sometimes. So.
Heidi, how did you create this family that wants to stay together? I mean, these days it's so rare to find families that want to spend as much time as you all do together, and yet this is how you live.
I just think, because I actually saw this yesterday, that it's been 5 years since we've been doing this, and I feel like I've been saying 2 years forever, but 5 years in doing this, and so many different friend groups and houses and content and new influencers and whatever. I mean, those come and go because those are people's careers. People move on to something else. And this has been the only constant since the beginning. And for our entire lives, I don't see why we would disconnect that. And the fact that we've done things, really difficult things that have happened with our family dynamic, from working together, being on a show, or doing a shoe line or popcorn. It's hard. And if we can get through that and still be on the same page and not want to kill each other, I think we'll be set forever.
How did you foster that?
So I can't really answer that. I don't know. I think, Marc we had a showroom in New York City, but he worked from home a lot. So we were very, very used to always being together since they were born. And, in some families, like, the parent might work outside of the house and you don't see them all day. Like, that wasn't really our dynamic. I'm not saying this, Dixie has said this, but that we're really fun. And so they want to hang out with us. Like, we do fun things, and they're like, wait, can we come? Like, of course. So,
and he pays, so it's always fun. Everyone's like, they're paying for all their stuff. I'm like, she goes to Dad every day to ask him for money. She's like, Dad, can I have $10?
They're still hitting you up for money?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dad, can you get me a drink? Can you get me a donut? Like, we'll do that all day. And he's like, okay.
I get
When
all
are you,
the.
wait, hold on. When are you going to cut them off?
He's not.
That's part of being a dad. Like as much
I
as
know.
like I'll get from when you buy an app on Apple, like Dixie, all of Dixie's, all of her stuff. She's 22, has a career, and I get
Wait.
the Apple charges all the time.
Wait, hold on. We both, so we don't live home anymore, so we just got kicked off like the family Netflix account.
No, I just saw you
And
log
that was
in.
probably
I
one of the
changed
biggest
Dixie.
betrayals I've ever felt.
I changed the home location of their Netflix so I could log back in. Yeah. Well, I'm staying
I'm
on this
logged
forever.
out. I'm logged out now, and I can't get in.
I got my own.
We're
Don't worry,
gonna
guys.
we're gonna have this conversation off stage.
Off
But I'm
stage.
playing,
I
like-
love it.
Gotti, I will say one thing. Like, I grew up. I had a lot of love in my family, but my parents were divorced, and like I knew that I wanted to have a close knit family. And I think like all relationships, whether it's work, marriage, kids, it takes work. And I think we've all committed to making our relationships as good as possible. And it's not, we're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But when I look back on it, I'm like, wow, we've done a really good job keeping this family together with all the craziness that's happened.
And to be more serious about that, I do feel like, parents want to hang out with their kids, but that's not always like reciprocated. And so I think for us, and it's really hard sometimes, is we just have to back off and let them come to us, because giving them their space, I think, allows them to come when they feel like they want to or they need to. And I think that is part of why we're so close, is we do give them space, because we are together a lot and we work together and we do a lot of things together. So when we're not, we kind of let them breathe and we do our own thing. So that, and then also, I think, I don't know, but I feel like when we have conversations or if there's disagreements or whatever, it's family. We fight sometimes and argue. What we always do, and we've gotten so much better at it, all of us, is okay, we need to talk through that, because that didn't make me feel good, or someone saying something and realizing, that was hurtful, I shouldn't have said that. And so we always put everything out on the table and talk through it, because the second you start keeping things in and not expressing how you're feeling about whatever it is, then there's some resentment that builds up, and we just don't want that. So we've all been but we've always they always had the floor to talk about whatever they wanted. And it's just different now as they've gotten older, and they're such good communicators that I learn from them all the time of how to be a better communicator. And Marc and I, we're empty nesters now, and our communication is so much better. So it's been work, and the beauty in it is we all want to work towards a tight family.
Speaking of work, one of the things that is fascinating is, so often, you see content creation and then you see product creation, and you guys are now moving straight into the product creation. I had some of your popcorn just a little while ago. Amazing. You've got the shoes, the shoe line, D'Amelio shoe line, and Charli, I've heard you talk about it's just a practical matter of fixing women's shoes. This is a problem that society has, that they are uncomfortable, but they have to be pretty. And you're here's a problem, let me fix it. And I love that you guys are just jumping in to try to take on something so big and painful. I don't know, but it looks very painful every time I see a heel. So I guess, Charli, starting with you, how did you get into shoes?
Well, I've been wearing shoes for as long as I can remember. No, I've always loved high heels. I love being tall. The higher the shoe, the better for me. And we go to a lot of these events where you're wearing these high heels for hours and hours and hours. Then you get home and first thing you want to do is throw your shoes through a wall because they hurt so bad. And I have short legs. This is something that we gotta compromise. If you want the illusion of long legs, high heels are a platform. Sorry. And And with that, and with that, I think having 3 girls in the family that share shoes, that like to, dress up and go out, whether it's for a carpet or whatever, and we just
Wait,
wanted...
do you guys all around have the same size of shoe?
We're all the
Yeah.
same.
What? So it's not actually one closet of shoes. It's 3 closets of shoes,
Yes.
all interchangeable. That sounds like a dream.
And clothes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's honestly
it's a dream.
really nice. But I think we've just learned a lot from what we wish a shoe could have, and I think through that we all work, and we work with such an amazing team that can help make the shoes that we dream of. And it's also really nice to, go out and someone's, oh, I really like your shoes. Where'd you get them? And you're like, well, actually, they're D'Amelio footwear. And it always starts a conversation, which I think is really fun. Sorry, I was rambling for a long
Oh no, I love it. And, I mean, Dixie, and so Dixie, you're in an interesting place too, because you're involved in all of this, and yet you're also like, your music is creating. It's putting everybody on the same vibe, the same frequency. Anytime you go on a concert, you're performing at Madison Square Garden to like, if people are listening to you on the radio, like there's a certain feeling that you get. Like I still sometimes hum, sometimes I don't want to be happy, and it's been years since that's like been stuck in my head. So, if from a creative standpoint, do you tap into your family a lot for some of the music that you've been creating?
Oh, yeah. So I was with a label for a while and was really on track to do more pop type of music, bubblegum, girl pop, which fun, love, good for the time, good for COVID. Be Happy is COVID song. We'll remember it. You'll hear it. Remember where you were. Cool. But I have been writing my own music and really taking a lot from my entire life, because I feel like I've never sat down and really thought about my life or myself deeper than yesterday and tomorrow. And I have the coolest experiences, and I just like think of them like that was a day, okay, move on to the next. Like, so really being able to sit down and feel these feelings about my sister and our relationship, and writing a song about that and how we're so close now is fun. And writing songs for my parents that they probably won't get to hear all of them. They will hear the good ones. No, I'm just kidding. But I do have so much fun with it. And I think also the business side of it, I feel like people look at us and like, what do they know about business? It's like, well, we're starting. This is a startup. This is what I was going to go to college for, in business and management. And we were so interested in being on all of these meetings in the beginning, and when we're meeting with brands and talking about creatives, and I would always end up being on a Zoom call with a brand and giving them an idea, and then they come out with it a couple months later, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I did think of that.
You're welcome. Yeah.
But I was just like, I'm glad it's out there now. I'll just throw something out, and hopefully someone will make something I need. But having the opportunity to take everything we learned from working with brands and then do brands from ourselves and things that we start from start to finish, that's what we stand behind. So it is, every time we wear the shoe, every time we eat the popcorn, I feel like it's just because we love it and we made it. And we're sharing it with you because we love it and we made it. And I just think that's really fun. But
I love that you brought up, what do you know about business? Marc, you were telling me once about a meeting that happened where I can't remember which one of your daughters rolled in and told them, no, this is how the youth see this, and this is what's going to work, and this is what's not going to work, and kind of stop the show. And I got to say, like, you guys are not naive at all, and I've always known that about you, and you are very, very close to the pulse of everything that's going on. I think that's one of the reasons why you guys have been so successful, is because you understand the ebbs and the flows and the light and the darkness and all those things that is social media. But tell me a little bit about what it's like when they roll into a brand and they stop like a very well-known brand in their tracks, and they're like, oh, actually, we have an entire marketing department and an entire like consumer department that's been asleep at the wheel because what they said is really resonating more than anything we've heard.
Yeah, the first thing I would say to all the parents out there, keep talking, because they're listening. They might not. You'll find it one day, and all of a sudden you'll see them in a certain situation. You'll be like, Okay, they were listening. I get blown away by how confident and articulate, but also how thoughtful they are in these meetings. And and early on when we started doing brand deals, and why we started D'Amelio Brands, and why I always told my kids, run your own offense, which basically means like take control of your life. And I would see Charli in where some executive would say, hey, why don't you do this? And she would just wide-eye look at me, and then I have to come in and say, yeah, we're not going to do that. I don't think that's good for your brand. I don't, and they know,
Or when they try to get me to do a TikTok dance, and I have to be like, I don't do that. They're like, come on, it'll be so fun, you and Charli. I'm like, it's not going to be cute, I promise. Like, trust me, I'll do something so much better, but no one wants to see that. And so finally now we're getting better relationships, and it's very authentic when we do things, and it's us, and we'll go, and we have the opportunity to go to 7-Eleven and take a bunch of pictures there, and I just think it's so fun because then we get to meet more people, and I don't know, all these experiences, even now the little ones, I feel like we just really appreciate. And those long days where we get to spend outside and taking all the fun pictures and seeing what we created in real life is so cool. Like thinking about compared to where we were 5 years ago.
The products, real products in the world, people are buying them, and a lot of times they don't even know where they come from, and they're just like, this is a great shoe, or this is a delicious popcorn. In terms of that building of the D'Amelio empire, if you will, now, what's the end goal? You've kind of shared that with me in the past when it comes to just making sure that, I don't know, their Netflix account stays paid for. But what do you see in the next 10, 15 years?
Although there's been a lot of celebrities and influencers that have done their own brands that have been very successful and made a ton of money. For me and us, it's never been about the money. It's been about the options and what owning something that you build and you put your time in could mean, and it could mean that someday, their kids could be part of the business if they want to, or not. And through this ride over the last 4 years, everything has been so dependent on all of us because we were the ones driving it. But once you create an entity, and I say this to all influencers, when you control your own destiny, run your own offense, whatever, you then have options to be as involved or as not involved as possible. And that's, it's never about, hey, let's build something up to $500 million and sell it. Let's build it, control it, really love it, respect it, and nurture it, and see where it goes.
And one of the other things that you've done, you're not only running this business that is a bunch of different businesses, you've also launched a VC fund. You're looking to empower other people, give other people a chance at starting their business. Heidi, where did that come from?
Yeah, we were approached by a professional investor who wanted to put a fund together. So basically the way it works, it's kind of split up into three categories. Endorsement deals, which are things that Prada and other things and Dunkin' Donuts that the girls do. And then there's the stuff that we do in brands. So we have shoes and food. And then we have this other thing where we deploy capital to companies that probably we wouldn't get involved in either of the two. So if someone has a really interesting insurance app, we're not going to start that ourselves. We're probably not going to, no one's going to ask us to endorse that, but we could deploy capital to help out a smaller entrepreneur to build that. And so we kind of keep them in silos, and it's worked really well so far.
And Heidi, we were talking a little bit earlier. I mean, you went from stay-at-home mom to running businesses left and right. What's that transition been like, and what's the most gratifying part for you?
Being a stay-at-home mom was my all-time favorite thing. I feel like even now I miss those days of, I know it's going to sound crazy, packing the lunch boxes. Like, I enjoyed doing all those things, but they still will call me to make some food for them. So I love those days. It brings me back. But I love this phase of my life. Marc and I being empty nesters, and in this business together, and building the footwear brand and the popcorn brand. And I've had more growth on the business side in the last few years, and I'm so proud of that because I don't really know. I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that. But when you're in the meetings and it's, your name is on it, and it's just so exciting to me and interesting. And I learned so much from Marc, and he's such a great teacher. Like he's, I always kind of ask his thoughts on things. I'm trying to build my own brand at the same time. And so I always bounce things off of him, which I love. And I don't know, I'm just like super excited of where I am right now. I still get to be mom, I get to be wife, but I get to be me in this business of our brands and my own brand. So I'm over the moon and couldn't be happier with all of that.
Do you two ever see yourself just stepping away from the whole social media thing and just being like business women?
I feel like, sorry, I keep saying I feel like, but I think what we're doing is we're making it available to have those options where we can do that. But also, I think we've both come so far in this journey, especially with our mental health, we have taken a step back the past year and just kind of slowed down on social media, and both finding a passion for it again. And not like posting needs to be difficult or whatever, but just putting yourself out there does get scary, and it gets really repetitive if the same things are going on. And I feel like, not to get really serious for a second, but there've just been so many times where there's serious things people are talking about, or something gets leaked, or pictures, or people are saying a rumor, and it's really serious and it really affects us, and we have to joke about it. And I feel like that's such a constant thing on social media, where taking these serious things and you won't let it, and the internet won't let it end until you joke about it. So we're 18 and 15 years old having to make jokes about pictures being leaked, and it's like, what? It just doesn't make sense. So in those times, I do think about doing nothing and stepping away, no one to remember, and just fully taking myself off. But at the same time, now that I feel like we're both in such a better place, being able to connect again with the people that watch us and doing something like this today, we're so excited to see those people in real life, because that always kind of kickstarts the motivation to put yourself out there and talk online. It's so terrifying. And I watch these people that talk all the time on the internet and do story times, like Brooke Schofield or Alex Earl or girls like that, and I'm like, wow, I'm looking at them probably how they were looking at her 4 years ago. And it's just a really cool cycle, and I don't think we'll ever be completely away from it. But
you're we're not best friends, but I feel like I know you a little bit. And I feel like I know you well enough to know that you are a serious person. Like, you've got a very goofy side, and yet you've got this serious, thoughtful, deep side that I don't think a lot of people know about. And I don't know if that's because you don't share it on social media, or because social media, like, you can't share it. There's a platform for everything except for something that requires a little bit of nuance, right? And I feel like that's where a lot of you lives. Do you find like that space missing?
I am so lucky to have so many people around me where I can have those deep, meaningful conversations, where I don't feel like the place online is the place to share it. But when I have like a smaller account, and I'll go on there and I'll share tips for anxiety or my migraines, or talk about random things, and that I feel really comfortable because it's smaller. And even though it's not, and it gets posted sometimes, and then I get a bunch of people thinking I'm going crazy because I'm on a live cleaning my closet, and I'm like, okay, that's gonna go there, and and I looked insane. But having that opportunity where even in my mind it's more private feels good, and getting to share deeper, more serious things, but I don't like putting it out for everyone. Even though it's the same exact thing, it just feels different. And I feel like a lot of influencers have done that, where they have a backup account where they talk more and share private things. You don't do that sometimes. You post whatever you want sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's also, there's this whole new, well, not new, but there's this whole era of little short clips that don't share the full story in a lot of ways. And I feel like that's where people make up assumptions or rumors get spread, because you hear, I could say,
But it could just be the tone of the voice sometimes,
I
and
could
that
be like,
happens to anyone.
I hate Dixie's cooking, but it can be, I hate Dixie. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're fighting. This is horrible. So I think it's just, for me, I don't feel the need to explain myself anymore, because I just kind of know who I am. And I, like, if you're going to make an assumption and decide how you feel about someone based off of like a 2-second clip, that one's kind of on you. So I think it makes it easier to disconnect from negative things people are saying. And also, I still use social media to catch up with my friends that I don't see all the time. So I don't think I'll ever stop using it, because I always enjoy that aspect. And I don't think we'll stop using it because we're equally, if not more, viewers than content creators on all of these platforms.
I've wanted to ask this for a while. So I made a video when that kid came and asked you to go to a dance with him. Do you remember that?
Yes,
That's
I
like
do.
one of and it's, I think if there was like a encyclopedia of the D'Amelios, like that would be towards the beginning of that. Like it was a
Yes.
thing, right?
Yeah,
That
we
thing
went to a winter
crazy
formal.
viral, and I was like, what? I don't know what's happening, right? And so still to this day, like I will get people in the comment section of that video that was like 4 years ago, and it is crazy how much they know about you, right? Like they treat you like you're an encyclopedia to be studied and understood and read. So, and they know a lot. Like I think at that meet and greet, which was again 7 million followers, but you had all these people that were there. I went out and I said something, and one of the young fans that was there corrected me, and they're actually like, no, Charli's born on this day, and Charli, and I was like, whoa, this is wild. If you had to give it a percentage of how much people know who you are, what would it be? How much is still just kept to yourself, just Charli, and how much is publicly available?
I'm going to answer for her. Her best side, she does not show at all. She's the funniest person ever, has the best personality, and is so talented and sweet, and she doesn't show it online, and I don't know why.
I keep a lot to myself. There's Charli D'Amelio, and then there's Charli, and I live as Charli all the time. And I hear that a lot. They're like, if you just showed your...
But it's not even like you're hiding anything.
It's so
just different.
subconscious, and it's so difficult, because people will say to me, why don't you just act this way online? I feel like it'll resonate with people a lot more. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, I'm not doing anything different. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm trying. So I think sometimes I do it even more than I think I do. But I like to keep things special for myself. And sometimes I forget. I'll do something really, really cool and be like, I did not take one photo. Yep. I'm the worst. And my text after anything I do, can you guys send me all the stuff you took? Because I didn't do anything. Well, and then I forget. And then no one knows that I did this or went here or wore this or whatever it was.
I got, like, Dancing with the Stars, I kind of felt that. Like, your performances were so spot on, and you were living in the moment. And there was like a degree of perfection to your thing. You were doing your thing. You know what I mean? And you were living in the moment. And like, I don't know if...
With that, I think it's so funny because when I was invited on the show, I think they thought, oh, we're going to get so much social content. And some of the people that were working kind of behind the camera would come in, like, hey, you guys haven't posted anything all week, and like votes are a part of this. It's not just your dancing. And we'd be like, oh, yeah, we forgot. Because you get so into it that I forget to take out my phone, or I don't think about it until I'm home, and I'm like, it would have been good if we filmed that.
I also think we don't think anyone cares. We don't think anyone wants to see it. But then I find myself in holes watching someone's Get Ready With Me. at the location, get unready with me. And I would watch every second of it. I look at everything. And I don't do it for myself. And I'm like, maybe one person would be interested in it. But I think we both know what we want to do. And I think we're both in such a good place where we're on that path to kind of get reconnected with the internet. It's changing. It's changing a lot, especially recently. And we're both more ready.
I feel like even I make a lot of the videos. Like this 10-minute feature is dangerous. I can talk forever. I could talk about nothing just to hear myself. And I'll go on these big rants and I'll just ramble and tell stories. And I'm like, I personally cannot go back and edit this because hearing myself talk is painful. So they just never see the light of the. No, they never
go
see
to
the light of the
drafts.
Got it. So
Our drafts are full of story
There's
times and
so many. Get ready with me, makeup tutorial, outfit. You guys will not believe what thing just happened that I'm gonna tell in full detail, and then it never gets posted.
Okay, so percentage-wise, what do you think? 50-50, 40-60? How much of you is still an enigma?
I'd say like maybe half.
30-70.
30 is known?
40.
40 is known, 60 is unknown?
There's just so much. There's so many
50-50.
hours in a
50-50.
day, and you guys will see, like, sometimes I'll post 2 15-second videos. There's so much like you guys don't see. Feed the dogs, or like there's that stuff too, rather than just like me with my friends or talking or catching up. I don't know.
How about you, Dixie?
But not on purpose.
How much is publicly available versus how much do you keep to yourself?
I would say very low is publicly available. Probably like 10%.
10% is known, 90% is
Recently.
unknown.
Before, in years past, it was definitely a lot more being shared from where I'm going, who I'm with, what's going on. Now, just kind of, I'll post something a couple weeks later and whatever. And I also keep I really have loved being alone and spending my time thinking and writing music and talking. And I'm not ready to share that, and that's not interesting, I think.
I think it's hard to convey your true self because I think some of the most fun times everyone has is in a setting where there's never a camera rolling and you don't get to see the nuance of like Heidi's compassion, the fact that she like playing with she's the nicest, sweetest person. Charli's hilarious. Both girls are so hilarious, but to set up a phone and start saying be funny. Like my friends say to me all the time, like you don't convey your true self. And even with our show, they were following a storyline, but it never really let us express our true selves. And I think why we have such a great relationship with you is because you've kind of been able to see behind the scenes and get to really see me as a dad, see me as an entrepreneur, see Heidi as a mom, and it's hard. And I think that's kind of the special sauce. If you could figure out how to do that. In live, you get a little bit more of that, but you don't get the interaction because a lot of time in live, you're just by yourself answering questions. The nuance of who you really are never really comes out, and that's really important.
Well, I don't want to sound too sappy here, but like the nuance for you all has always been very fierce love between all of you, and I think you can pick it up, but it's not. It's difficult to sum up, and that's always been, I think, one of the struggles with trying to tell your story. But I got to say, like now that I'm a dad, obviously my kids, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is the most incredible person that's ever existed in the entire universe. And like my son, he's so like he just started crawling, and like holy smokes. Like, how does the world not know that these kids are the best kids in the world, And then I realized that what happened to you was, boom, all of a sudden there was a spotlight on your family, and all of a sudden you had a chance to say, yeah, like I've been telling, I've known that my kids are the most special kids on planet Earth. And then it comes down to like how much do you share and how much do you keep just to the family. So with the percentage question, like how much Are you ever worried about putting too much out there where, it starts breaking down that amazing brick wall that you've built to keep your family intact?
I know for me, I'm very thoughtful of not sharing a lot of my experiences that involve them, which is hard because I've been a stay-at-home mom all these years. I have a lot to share, but I always want to be respectful because maybe they don't want that out there. So even like little videos or something, like I always say, like, are you, like, literally doing nothing? And I'm like, are you okay? Like, maybe it's just the mood they're in. Maybe they're not feeling their best and they don't feel like they want it out there, even though to everyone else it's like probably a minimal like type of video or mood or situation. But so for that, I don't share a lot, but I'm learning how to share like things I did as a mom when they were young without making it their story, if that makes sense, like my perspective. So
we've always been the hardest part, I think, for me and Heidi is we were grown adults with opinions, and when your kids are in the spotlight, making sure you don't do things to bring a negative spotlight on them. And it's tough because I had my own life. I was in my 50s. I was 50 when this started, and now you got to take a step back, and you do. But I do think we've done a good job showing most things. I think the people sometimes think this isn't real because we kind of do just have a loving family, and we were pretty shocked early on why people were interested in us, because we just feel like we were just a normal family going through some extraordinary things.
Yeah, it's like, oh, normal family that loves each other, lame. Like, give us the drama, and yet, but when you look at like the following counts, and when you look at the success, and when you look at what's resonating with people, it's that weird little nuance. It's just the being real about things.
And that's what I was gonna say was we say the percentage of what's real and what's not, and I think what makes it the most real is that it's not, or at least for me, it's not something that I think about. I don't want to share this, or I do want to share this. It's more just I didn't say it when it happened. I could talk about it eventually. I could never talk about it. There's nothing in my life where, like, this is completely off limits. No one can ask me about this. It's just more of that happened and my phone wasn't out. So I don't know. That's why it's like, yeah, I feel like I don't share a lot, but it's not for any reason other than I just like forgot.
Because you're just living.
Yeah, living
Everything
in the
moves
moment.
so fast.
So
I know, and you want to be present. You don't want to like have your phone the whole time, filming everything. Because you're going to spend all that time looking back on it when you could have just lived in the moment and appreciated the time as it's happening.
I do want to. You were talking a little bit about the internet changing and social media changing, and it does feel like it's changing, and it does feel like this. Us all playing with our time machine that is our phone and looking back on memories and kind of sometimes feeling like really weird and nostalgic about stuff. And then you almost don't want to do that until you're in the right mood. But I do wonder, do you think that we're going to get further and further away from the document everything era that was right before COVID going into COVID?
I think there's, with social media, and it's been going on before anyone cared about any of us, it goes through cycles. They go through cycles where lifestyle and tips and tricks are doing better. There was times where dancing was the top thing on the app, and now you don't see that as much anymore. Everything is ever changing, and it's a constant cycle, and I've even seen it repeat just with new ages of influencers since I've started, and it's interesting to watch, but I think it's also, there's something very enjoyable about coming along on this day and watching somebody going through something when you're like literally in bed, just like all comfy, cozy, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. So, I mean, I enjoy watching it. I hope it doesn't go away. But at the same time, I'm just not one of those people that always has their phone out and is filming, you know? Some people just really do enjoy that. And I've known people that were like that even just in high school. It's not always just a social media thing.
How about you, Dixie? You think it's changing?
Yes, I was about to say something and I forgot as she was talking, but yes, it's changing. What was the question?
Well, let me ask you
try to
this. Let
remember.
me ask you this, because Charlie's sitting in bed watching people go through their days. What are you obsessed with these days? What is social media doing like really well, and what are you over?
Honestly, I feel like social media has... okay, hold on. Let me take that back. Recently, I feel the internet has been more on the same side recently. Like, either everyone's a hater or everyone's a lover, which is nice because there's more harmony sometimes. But also, I feel like people are forgetting things quicker. I think, like, if someone is talking about something, it used to be like 2 weeks and it's over, and now it could be hours and some things on to the next. Like, it has gotten so fast, even like for us.
But do you think that it's gotten faster, or you're ignoring it more quickly?
Yes, also ignoring it more quickly. I mean, we went through this whole thing during COVID, and it's like saying we weren't grateful about our followers, whatever. And I just was thinking about that the other day. It's like, I don't think I've been in a room, even a concert, with more than 20,000 people. That's probably the most people I've seen in a room altogether. And that's a lot of people. So we're home not meeting anyone and seeing all these numbers that has no real...
They don't compute. Yeah.
How can you
It's
imagine
like you're playing
that
a
many
video
people?
game.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not even anything.
Except for on the other side of that video game is literally like the population of like a continent, like the population of like
I
Australia.
know, sometimes it hits me and I'm like, I'll look at a video of mine that I think is so stupid and funny. And then I look, a lot of people can watch this. That's so awkward because you forget, you post, you see the first couple comments, and it doesn't really hit you that a lot of people are watching this until you're at something like this and there's people in front of you.
Sometimes I'm like, she'll post something and I'll text her. I'm like, hey, just checking in. Did you mean to post that, like, out there? She's like, yeah, why? And I was like, oh, no, you're good. Just want to check. And she'd be like,
My wife does
Oh,
that
yeah, I
with
didn't
like
really
things
think
that I
about that.
wear. She's like, "You're gonna wear that? That's the okay. That's the shirt, huh? That's the yeah, but yeah. There's gonna be like 12 people that see you in that shirt. Just want you to know." We're running out of time here. I can't believe that went so fast. But I guess my final question, when it comes to the internet changing, I think you guys are totally right. It feels like there's a vibe shift going on, and yet you two see it differently than I think you two. And you two see it in kind of a more protective way, like you're just talking about. So for families that are in this world together, but also realize that like maybe it's not good, maybe it's not bad, but there's a danger to all of this. What's your advice to navigating the shifts that we're starting to see, Marc?
Well, first of all, I think it's a necessity, and I have more of an optimistic look at it because I think nowadays your following and your social media platform is as big as is viewed as big as your education. Back, when I was younger, if someone was like, "Oh, he went to Harvard," you'd be like, "Wow!" If all of a sudden you see someone like, "Oh, that guy has 5 million followers." But it's not just the following, it's helping you, like just like the brands thing, helping you achieve your goals. So what I love about it, first of all, it's here to stay, and second of all, I think it should be embraced, but I think it should be monitored. I think it's up to the parents it's a tough balance to watch it, know it is a currency that could help your family and your kids for the entire generation, for their lives, no matter what they want to do. You see it, there's doctors, lawyers, power washers, construction workers, all with a social media platform. And I think it's important to to keep going in that direction, but monitor it carefully. And that's what we did. I think one of the great things about what Heidi and I did for Dixie and Charli is we instilled the what's right and wrong in them, and then let them make their own decisions. And I think one of the things I tried to do is make a bigger deal about the little things and be very supportive when they made bigger mistakes. So
that's some good family advice.
Yeah.
Good family advice. And we've literally run out of time, so I can't thank you guys enough. I have one more favor to ask. Heidi, you sent our daughter a little bunny when she was born. We named her Melly after the D'Amelios. And it is her best, I'm not kidding, it is her best friend. She takes it everywhere. She's inseparable. She has it right now. She takes it to school. And she thinks Melly, it's a little bunny rabbit. We went for a walk, and I told her, look, there's a bunny in the moon. That looks maybe like Melly's mom. And she's like, Melly's mom lives on the moon? And then yesterday I said, actually, I'm going to go meet Melly's real mom. And she's like, you're going to the moon? Like you're going, and I was like, no. Actually, Melly comes from the D'Amelio family, and I'm gonna go hang out with them. She's very excited. So we're done with time, but I'm hoping you guys will all come backstage. We'll FaceTime her so Melly can meet her sisters and Melly's mom. It would make my day. Thank you guys so much for including me in your family.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Being on this
Thank
journey
you
with
guys.
us. Thank you all for coming.